Sometimes life is messy. Have you ever wished you could refocus your mind, home, relationships, and work life? Join us as we use research-based information to make practical changes and simplify life. This is Life Simplified.
Welcome to Life Simplified. This month we are talking all things gardening. Hopefully you joined us last week for gardening basics, but if not, go back and check that out. This week we're going to talk about the benefits of gardening. And I will tell you, ladies, there are lots of benefits to gardening, some that I think are really obvious and some that maybe we didn't think about before. But today I've decided I've got one article that I found that talks about 8 surprising benefits of gardening. So I thought we would just kind of unpack that together, go through each one of those benefits and have a little discussion. So this article comes from the University of North Carolina and is written by Dr. Robert Hutchins. So when I refer to this, I just want all of our listeners to know that's what we're talking about, and we will also link that in the show notes so you can read it in its entirety. But I will tell you all, both of you in here with me, as well as you listening, that there are so many different articles that touch on the benefits of gardening. And so if there's something in here that's surprising to you and you want to dig deeper, I think you could easily find a number of really solid resources that discuss the benefits of gardening. And I think because there are so many, that just leads me to believe this is super important. And I'm glad that we're talking about it. And so I'm excited for us to have this gardening a month and to start off with just encouraging you that, you know, maybe you'll have some surprising pluses to your family gardening. So let's jump right in. The very first benefit of gardening that is brought up in this article is gardening can build self-esteem. And so I think that one's kind of interesting. What do you all think? Just off the cuff before I read kind of their remarks on that. Do you feel like gardening?
I think it makes sense to me because the sense of accomplishment of I planted this from seed and I'm feeding my family with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like a start to finish thing. Like you get to see it come to fruition.
Right. And I'm sure, or if you do like flowers, and of course, if you have a lot, you may gift them to people and they may be like, this is amazing. These are beautiful. And then that builds your self-esteem as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I have to agree with that, because it's just one of them things, either you fail or you succeed on it. And when you succeed, that does build you up, like I can do this, So I could see that as well.
Yeah. And, one thing that kind of came to mind too when I read, building self-esteem, in extension, we have a lot of county fairs and state fairs. There's one in my home county that I get to do every year. And it is interesting getting to watch people bring in their fruits and vegetables and win ribbons and how excited they are. Both children and adults. You really see them light up when they come back and they realize that what they grew in their home garden won a ribbon. And it's just a ribbon. It's, there may be a small monetary prize as well, but just that sense of self-accomplishment, you can really see it on their faces. So I can see how, gardening can build your self-esteem. And so I want to kind of read to you what Dr. Hutchins says about that. He says, maybe you don't think you were born with a green thumb. I can relate to that. No green thumb here. But after tilling, planting, nurturing, and harvesting plants, you might see a slightly different person in the mirror. A person who can grow things and is a little more in tune with the earth. It always feels good to accomplish new tasks, and if you can grow a garden, what can't you do? And I think that's like a great thought. I don't have a green thumb, so I'm not one that can go out there and I'll have a beautiful flower garden or whatnot. But I have been able to successfully grow some things in our home garden, and there is a sense of pride in that, being able to see what you've done and how you can utilize that then for your family. So there you go. There's your first surprising benefit. It will build your self-esteem. So let's go on to number 2. And this one is gardening is good for your heart. What do we think about that?
I guess the exercise component?
Yeah.
It may not be, but
yeah.
And even though you're not, we've talked about it before, you're not planning to exercise. I'm not walking a mile or going to an exercise class. You're still getting exercise and still building those muscles.
See, I could see it as stress level.
Okay,
You are
yeah.
not stressed
True.
when you're out in the garden or in your, you know, your flower bed. So your stress level is down. So it's not putting extra on your heart when you are stressed.
See, I like that. I like that. And then I think also you can take it like, okay, well, maybe it's good for my heart because I'm encouraged to eat healthier foods. So you can take it like all the different levels. I love that we all three kind of tapped into different parts, like lowers my stress, it's physical activity, it's good nutrition. So, I mean, that makes perfect sense then that gardening can be good for your heart. And, you know, we just had all of our, you know, had our heart episode a couple months back in February, and we talked a lot about heart. So we know there are lots of benefits to taking care of your heart, and it sounds like gardening's a good way. And in this article, it says all that digging, planting, and weeding burns calories and strengthens your heart. So you're right, there's that cardiovascular benefit, but I think you're like right on point. Like it's, you know, de-stressing us, and stress is bad for our heart. So something that makes us feel more relaxed and calm is definitely beneficial. And then also, at the end, you get to eat something that's a whole lot better for you than a bag of potato chips, even though that sometimes is what we'd rather have. We know. I think we can be encouraged to eat a little bit better, especially if we work for it. I think if you work for it, you definitely want to be able to enjoy it. So, gardening's good for your heart. The next one, gardening reduces stress. So, there you go, Joni. It's a stress reliever. It's a stress reliever. And I think for the reason you just said, like, you're out in your garden, you're not thinking about all those other things. It's like an escape.
Yeah.
And I'm not an avid gardener, so I don't feel like I can really give a lot of firsthand experience, but I know I have talked to people who like they love it and it's their happy place. And I think that your garden can be your happy place. You're escaping all those other things in life that tend to bog you down and get in the way.
I don't know about you guys, but I mean, my mind goes 24/7, either from work, family, you know, activities, whatever it is. And so when you're out in the garden or in your flower beds or whatever, you're not thinking about that. You know, you are just thinking about, okay, I need to do this next step, or, you know, this one's looking good. I need to pick the, you know, so you're not thinking about all things.
Yeah, I can relate to that. A few weeks ago, we had a really nice weekend. And so I went outside alone, which doesn't happen that often. And I cleaned out my flower beds. And even it was, you know, monotonous of pulling the weeds out and, you know, getting the mulch out because we're going to remulch this year. It was very calming to just to be, and then that accomplishment when I finished it, it looked clean, like it's ready for the upcoming season. And then we were also able to involve our son in it. He got a new Power Wheels tractor, so with a wagon, so we dumped it all in the wagon and hauled it off. And so it was just good, stress relieving, kind of getting out of the ordinary things we do every day.
I love that. And I got to thinking when you were saying, you know, like I'm pulling weeds, but then it's all clean, it's ready to go. I think about those videos on social media. They're like, this video is so satisfying. And you start with something that's a mess, and then by the end, it's like so nice and neat. And so I imagine like there was some feeling of satisfaction to look back on that, know what it looked like when you started, and be like, oh, look at this. It's like fresh palette, ready for a new season. And so there is a lot of satisfaction there. So I can see how that can be a stress reducer. And I think that one, because that's our third surprising benefit of gardening, it really ties in well to the fourth benefit in this article, which is gardening can make you happy. I mean, clearly, if it's reducing stress and you're having that like, oh, this is satisfying, there's happiness there. And I think just being able to see that. And I think getting in nature, being outdoors, we've talked about that a lot. We've talked about bluescapes and greenscapes and all of those different type things. I think just being outside, it really speaks to our soul in a lot of ways.
That's about like, you know, when we've had lots of cloudy, rainy days and that, and then finally when that sun comes out that the next day or whenever it is, we just, our minds are a lot different. You know, you're outside, you're out and the sun's out. It just kind of put your mood in a whole different way. I want to go back to the third one when Amanda's talking about her son, including him, being outside, including your family like that is really good too, So I like that you mentioned that, you put it in his wagon. So, including our kids, I know sometimes the older ones don't want to help, but, just including your family, that also helps de-stress your life too.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Sometimes we think of gardening as like a solo activity, and it can be, and it can definitely be like a quiet time and an individual project, but it also can be a social activity, bringing in other people, family members, maybe a friend, maybe a community garden where others can interact. So I think that is a good point to make, having children in, and then also letting them learn that skill, from a small age. It becomes something that becomes a part of them and something they can look forward to doing along with you. So maybe it becomes a stress reliever for them and a happy place for them as well, for them to look forward to. So I love that. And I did want to read kind of the little segment about the gardening can make you happy, because I think maybe it's something we wouldn't have thought about. But it says, getting dirt under your nails while digging in the ground can make you pretty happy. In fact, a healthy bacteria that lives in the soil can increase levels of serotonin and reduce anxiety. How cool is that?
So it's the science behind it.
There is science behind it.
Yeah.
And so there's a reason why, there's reasons, we know that, but this is legit. And I would have never in a million years been like, go dig in that dirt. There's bacteria in there that's going to make you feel great. But it does. And I think that's cool for us to know, that. Yeah, we're not just imagining that digging in the dirt makes us feel better. It actually really is. Legitimately can increase our levels of serotonin and reduce anxiety. I mean, if that is not an advertisement for Go Garden, I don't know what is. So that's exciting, and it makes me kind of want to go dig in the dirt. And I'm a germaphobe, people, so if I'm digging in the dirt, it may be for everybody. So get excited about that.
I was going to say, whenever I was a kid, and actually I still do, after you've turned the soil over far as to get ready for your garden, there ain't anything any better taking your shoes off and walking in that dirt.
There you go.
I used to love to do that whenever I was a kid. And I can probably say I still do. I just don't do it like I did whenever I was a kid.
I love that. I need to remember that. My husband and I were actually just talking this morning about our garden, because I told him, we're going to record some podcasts about gardening for this month. And he was like, you know what? I need to get out there and get our garden ready to go. So maybe when he gets it all ready to go, I'll take a little walk through the dirt before we plant anything. I'm going to take that into consideration. I'll let y'all know if I do it or not. If I do, it's a big deal. Okay.
Take a picture. Take a picture. Document.
That's right. Maybe if you join our social media, follow us, you may see a picture of me walking in the dirt. Maybe.
Or you post your picture of you walking in the dirt
Absolutely.
barefooted.
Everybody walk in your dirt and take a picture. We're going to start.
It's therapeutic.
We're going to start a trend. We're going to have a dirt walking.
It's like your own ocean. Like you walk in the sand, everybody loves the sand
That's
between
true.
their toes.
That's true.
It's your own.
Yeah.
That's true. I
Making your
do
own
like
ocean.
walking in the sand, so perhaps I will really
Yeah.
enjoy the dirt. I need to give it a go. So there you go, folks. We're going to see. Maybe Tiffany will walk in the dirt and document. We shall see. Look, you never know what direction we're going, do we? All right. So we know gardening can make you happy, and we know there are reasons why. So the next surprising benefit of gardening is that gardening can improve your hand strength. Never would I have ever thought of that. Not gonna lie. But it makes sense because you're using tools with your hands. And I guess if you think about it, as we age, some of those fine and gross motor skills, we kind of start lagging. And so this is a way to easily work some of those muscles that we don't think about on a regular basis. Because I don't think that would have come to mind for me thinking
No, it doesn't.
But it makes sense.
It does, and I was thinking before the computer times, we used to handwrite everything, and I know
Yeah.
sometimes when I'm writing, I'm like, my hand is cramping.
That's true.
Because
That's
I am
true.
writing. It's because we're not using those muscles. So maybe gardening is a way to strengthen those, since the age of technology that we're in.
Absolutely. And we know we use like hand tools and things, but it also talks about, you're digging, you're planting, you're pulling, like everything you're doing, you're using your hands. So it is building that hand strength, which I think is only a benefit as we get older. Because I know, like, yesterday I was trying to open a jar and it was not happening. And then I handed it to my husband. He opened it immediately and I told him I loosened it for him, but he told me I was not quite. So maybe gardening will give me that benefit as well.
You'll be able to open it and he will not.
I'll be like, now what? Well, I
need
improved my
you.
hand strength. All right, Joni, number 6. You got us there. Gardening is good for the whole family.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Like 100%. We know gardening is good for the whole family. We know it's social. We know it increases bonding, communication, transferring skills from one generation to the next. And a lot of times I think not only just like a parent with a child, but grandparents with children a lot of times will spend time in a garden and learning that process. And spoiler alert, we have a whole episode on gardening with kids that's coming up later this month. So be sure to check back for that one. But yeah, I think it's definitely a family activity. And even if it's not all at the same time, every person can have their role within the gardening. For me, I'm not like, I may help pick, but the planting and some of the other things my kids and my husband tend to do more of. And then my daughter will help me prepare what we have harvested from the garden. So I think everyone can have their place and their role, and you don't have to be in the thick of it for the whole process, but everybody has a part. So I think definitely it's good for the whole family. And I think everyone here who has had a garden, it's been a family activity. It's not always been just a by yourself kind of thing. The next benefit, and this is one that, again, I would not have been like, let me pull out my list of benefits of gardening, but it makes sense and I like it. Gardening can give you a boost of vitamin D. Yeah. So for those of you that aren't thinking about it this way, vitamin D, we get that from sunlight, okay? And it helps our body to absorb calcium. So we need vitamin D, or else all of the things we're eating and drinking that have calcium, and then we can't process as well. And so just being outside and getting some of that natural sunlight really can help our bodies. And especially like in small doses, we want to be sun safe. We want to wear hats. We want to wear our sunscreen. And I think we talk about that in some other episodes. So another spoiler alert for you, but that's coming. But I think in small doses, like, so if you're just going out in your garden and checking on things for like 15, 20 minutes, that's a good time to just let your body get some sunlight. You don't have to cover up, because in small doses, we want to get that vitamin D into our body. So it's really great for our immune health, really great for our bone health. It's just one of those bonuses that you don't even think about. It just comes along with the territory. And so I like that, because as someone who has had some issues in the past with some bone health, that's a really great way to build that strength up in a way that you can enjoy and not have to feel stressed over or overwhelmed or, no one's like, let me go build my bones up and gets excited about it. So go garden, and good luck to you there. So the last one, and I think to me this last one is maybe the most obvious one, but I think it's still worth bringing up and talking about for a little bit. So the last benefit that the article brings up is growing your own food can help you eat healthier. And to me, I'm like, yes, absolutely. Like, I don't know. Would y'all think that would be the most obvious? To me, that was.
Yeah, I feel like that's the top one that comes to mind when we're talking about it.
Yeah, I feel like if we were on Family Feud, that would be the number one answer, and it'd be all the points.
And another spoiler alert, we're going to be talking about the benefits of eating your fresh fruits and vegetables and herbs. So stay tuned for that episode too.
Absolutely. And I know one of the things that we know, especially with our kids, is that if they help grow it and they help prepare it, they're more likely to try it. And so trying to get variety into your kids' diet can really be benefited by having a garden. But I think it's the same way for us adults. Because I do think that as adults, we can sometimes be picky or have a preconceived notion about certain fruits or vegetables. But if we are in the process, if we take part in it, I do think even us as grown-ups, we're like, oh, well, I helped make that, I'm going to try that food. So I think it's good for all of us. And just knowing where your food comes from is kind of comforting. Like I know exactly what went into this. I know where it grew. I know what chemicals were or were not on it. And so there's some kind of like satisfaction and safety in knowing that. So I think it encourages us to partake of those foods even more because of that benefit.
And I think thinking about the aspect that it's fresh. Because if you are a tomato fan, there is a difference between a tomato that you grow in the garden and one that you purchase. And I feel like most of the time, my family, we consume a lot more vegetables in the summer just because they are fresh and we really enjoy that taste. And if it's in your garden, you're like, man, we really got to use that. We got to eat that before it goes bad.
Absolutely. And that makes me think about when you said with the tomato, because yes, you hear that all the time. People are like, I like tomatoes, but it needs to be a farm fresh tomato. And my husband is the same way with sweet corn. We only eat sweet corn when it comes from our farm and it's in season. And then he's done with it. And we really don't eat corn other than that. Now, we will sometimes in the past, we have frozen sweet corn and put it up, and you may have that. But if it's not something he knows that he grew it and he knows where it came from and what variety it is, then he don't want any part of it. So I think you do kind of get to that point where you're like, this is so good, and it feels so much more fresh than anything else, that you just don't want the other things. Now, that's not to discount it, because we want to have our fruits and vegetables year round, and you can get good quality items all the time in the grocery store. So we don't want you to not eat your fruits and vegetables, but there is a benefit to knowing where it came from. And actually in the article, there's a quote from Dr. Hutchins that I think speaks right to this, because it says, it's essentially as farm to table as it gets if you're eating what you're growing. And that's true, because there is this big push, like you see all the time, restaurants and coffee shops and different places are farm to table, know where it came from, locally grown. Well, your backyard is as local as it possibly gets, and that's as farm to table as it gets.
A lot of schools, too, are going to that as well, trying to find local in their communities of farmers that grow the fresh fruits, so they can incorporate it in their meals there at school.
Yeah, I think everybody's really on the bandwagon of that, pushing that.
And so I wanted to put a plug in for our Kentucky Proud Plated Up recipes.
Yes.
Because if you have 1,000 tomatoes or 1,000 squash, what am I going to do with these? I'm getting tired of eating them the traditional ways. We do have recipes at each of the extension offices across Kentucky where you can look and see different ways to fix fresh local produce, or so fruits and vegetables. We have both recipes. So just visit your local extension office, and they're free. We do have them online as well. So if you are not able to get to your extension office, you can call and they can kind of pinpoint you where to go and where to get those recipes.
Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because there are some really great recipes. I know sometimes you might feel like we're just plugging things, because we are, but we make these, we sample these, and they really are some good quality recipes and good uses of your local grown and garden grown fruits and vegetables. So that is a good thing to remember. So I don't know about you all, but if you were on the fence of having a garden, whether it's a container garden or a raised bed or whatever variety of garden, which we have all of that in a podcast as well, all the things. I think this would really push you to go for it. Why not? There's just so many benefits. There's not really any negatives, to be honest. Just give it a shot. Now, remember, the drawbacks might be size or cost, but there are so many different varieties of gardens that there's something for everyone. So there's something for every budget, every size, opportunity of where you live. So give it a try, because none of this sounds bad. Looking over these 8 benefits, it's all good, and it's good personally, and it's good family, and it's good across the board. So, try it out, see if it's for you, and see which benefits you see that you get the most out of. I will note that in the article, Dr. Hutchins does encourage you to talk to your doctor about the benefits of gardening. So if you've heard anything here today, you're kind of interested in it, but you're not sure, maybe that you may have some medical concerns or limitations, talk to your doctor, see what they say about it. As always, they know you better than anyone, and you know yourself. So take everything into consideration. But we do encourage you, if you get the chance, have that garden. Try it out. See what benefits you find out work for you. So we want to thank you so much for joining us for this podcast. Join us the rest of the month so you can hear all things gardening from us. And we look forward to spending some time with you next time. This is Life Simplified.
Thanks for listening to Life Simplified. We are family and consumer sciences agents with the University of Kentucky Cooperative Extension Service. Contact us at lifesimplifiedpodcast@gmail.com.